The thing that is most misunderstood about sports radio is its function. It's not that you're supposed to look. There are shifts, there are day parts where if you want to get into the minutia, if you want to talk about cycling and what they do on special teams and all the other things that go into it, all the details that go into being an NHL team, there are shifts for that. There are hours of that. That's not what a morning show does. That's what a morning show isn't supposed to. I'm supposed to call someone or bring the coach on who will explain those moves. I bring the general manager on. I can bring on one of the players. This is what hosting a morning show does. I'm hard pressed to think that going to work for a job that you hate, for a boss who sucks, for you getting yelled at every day and maybe not getting the money that's worth it to you. Maybe you have a hard day where you're outside every day. Hey, there's a lot of people in Western Canada that listen to that show that weren't just from Calgary. They were also from Saskatchewan. And then these guys would be out working the fields and so on. They wanted to get some laughs in with a little bit of the sports. So what you want to do is be an entertaining guy, and hopefully you have the chops to actually do that. And then on the other side, you call someone who can explain all those things better than I can, better than any probably morning guy can, because there's a reason why they're a morning guy, because they were probably, for the most part, in broadcast and maybe not a great athlete. Look, my background is weird. It's different. I played at a very high level of sports, but I also started doing stand-up when I was in grade 12. Freak and weird. I was a goalie and a drummer. All the weird stuff that goes into this brain where I hear the voices. I'm sitting there looking at a football game. All of a sudden, I hear Peyton Manning going, what he should have done. What he should have done was you got to pull that back. You got to make them read into when you're going to play action pass. You don't just run with it, dummy. That's not RPO. This is what goes on in his head. This is what I have going on. Bob Cole,
I get it.
All kinds of stuff is going on there.
I don't even think it's weird.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
This former producer of major market television shows writing into us anonymously to say he just found our show on Game Plus Television. Here's some tips. The show has ADD. It's all over the place. Your sound effects are annoying. And your host is arrogant. Right on all counts. But that's what we want. That's what we wanted it to be.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
I missed that guy. Come on back. Come on back, man. The guy that ripped our show. I blasted him so much he never came back. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the RP Show. It's a brand new week. It's a brand new place. We're in beautiful, if I can read the card here, Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
How about
it's
that?
The summer home base. Yeah, it's the summer home base for the RP Show. Yeah. It's big news. Start spreading the news. I got new gear. Yeah, I'm a happy guy to be out of the Florida heat and up here in the Great White North, where it's not white, it's beautifully green. The Moose remains in Toronto, where he's watching tennis and doing Moose things. Moose, before we get into kicking off the Quick Six show topics here, and by the way, the guests are a couple of NHL guys, Matthew Barnaby and Shawn Simpson. Simmer, both out of Ottawa, will be joining us on the program today. Moose, what do you got? You didn't completely destroy the show, because I see we still have a show here today as I took a week off. How you doing?
Yeah, we still got some viewers that are back, so that's good. We didn't completely put it in the ditch, but good to have you back.
Good to be back in this business. Good to be anywhere. And yeah, we got a lot of stuff to get to, but let's just quit Mickey Mouse. And I'll ask Director Jordan to please hit the Quick Six show horn, and we'll let her rip. I should mention, by the way, we are in the home of the Moose Jaw Warriors. Typical RP fashion, I show up, the team's left town. The Warriors are at the Memorial Cup. But here tonight, Moose, will be the second watch party. I was here Friday night where the Warriors lost their opening game to host Saginaw. They'll play their second game tonight against London, 5:30 face-off Mountain Time. I may or may not be here, but it's $5 at the door. I was here the other night. They'll be showing it on that big screen. They got food trucks. They got beer gardens. It's a big time right here in Moose Jaw. So just so you know, that's where we're at. And So happy to be here. It's a very peaceful community. They're very friendly to me, which, if you know the story, is a bit of a surprise. But can you hit the horn again, Jordan? And then we'll get right into number one. Thank you. Yeah. The big story.
How about that?
I'm trying not to be too much of a squirrel here, but when I'm gone, I'm watching the show. Darren's big story, which is totally okay, is that Toronto's getting a WNBA expansion franchise. And I'm like, oh, yeah, here we go. He's making it a Toronto show. But you know what? You're in Toronto. I'm okay for it. That's what we're about, inclusivity here. We're about variety is the spice of life. But what hasn't changed for me is hockey is number one. So the number one point of the big story is Game 3. Stanley Cup Eastern Conference Final Sunday. They're still talking about it. The New York Rangers blew a 2-goal lead in the third period. I watched it, but Alex Wenberg's goal at 5:35 of overtime lifted the visitors to a 5-4 win over the Florida Panthers Sunday, and they've now taken a 2-1 series lead and wrestled back home ice advantage. Alexis Lafreniere and Barclay Goodrow each scored twice for the Rangers, who, as I mentioned, are up 2-1. Sam Reinhart scored twice for the Panthers. Game 4 Tuesday in Sunrise. I don't know about you, but my timeline is clearly full of that and a lot of other things that we're going to get to here in the Quick Six show topics. But it was a hell of a game. 3 p.m. Eastern start, 1 o'clock out here in the West. And can I throw out how much I'm enjoying being in the Mountain Time Zone? Because this is the greatest time zone for sports. The Eastern games start at 5. The Western games start at 8. It ain't hard to watch a doubleheader. It's almost impossible out east. But Darren, obviously, I got a lot of Panthers fan friends. I got a lot of Panthers fans that are not my friends because they're mad at us on our Cats and Bolts podcast that we picked the Rangers to win this series. Serena and I both did. And now they're kind of on the ropes in their own barn. The Rangers roughed them up. I don't think it's a coincidence that the Panthers have lost both games since Matt Rempe got into the lineup for the Rangers. And New York's taken a page out of the Panthers playbook, and that's roughing them up, bullying them. There's a lot of talk about the Jacob Trouba elbow on Evan Rodriguez in the game last night. Yeah, Panthers are in some trouble. I predicted they would lose the series. What's your take so far on the Eastern Conference Final?
Yeah, they're both highly entertaining, the two series, but that series in the East, yeah, it's getting pretty good. I thought the Rangers did a great job to get out to that lead, but Florida probably the better team through most of that game, but New York plays to that style. They can play whichever way you want to play it, right? And with Igor Shesterkin in goal, you can sit back a little bit more because he can handle a bulk of that workload. And through the first 2 rounds of the playoffs in the series against Washington and then Carolina, the Rangers didn't need to play a physical game, so there wasn't really a big role or need for Matt Rempe. Fast forward to this series, and nobody plays a heavier game than the Florida Panthers do. So you got to put Rempe in the lineup to compete. Trouba steps up his game physically, and talking about the elbow and whatnot, but they're now being able to match Florida's physicality and a big win in overtime last night.
It's a doozy. It's an absolute doozy. And, and we'll switch gears here to point 2 in the Western Conference Final in a second. I'm looking forward to watching this one tonight. I'm broadcasting baseball. I dropped that in the commentary at rodpeterson.com on Thursday. A lot of people are saying, how did this come about? The Western Canadian Baseball League is Canada's premier collegiate ball league. It's a lot of kids that come up from the States, NCAA players, plus some local players. It's a pretty big league that's been around for almost 100 years. And, hey, it's the Moose Jaw Miller Express that I'm the voice of. They gave me a bunch of gear last night. It's nice to be the voice of a team again and not have to travel and blah, 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 blah. So you'll be hearing a lot about the WCBL. But I was preparing for the game and getting set up with the broadcast gear there. I didn't watch the Oilers and the Stars because it was a late Saturday matinee. I was getting ready to work. The Miller Express are paying me. They're my focus. You know what I mean? But I've had a lot of people saying, what are your plans for the show here in the late spring and summer? And I'm like, well, if the Oilers should get to the Stanley Cup final, and I talked to Joe, our CEO, I said, I would like to go to Edmonton to do the show up there. He's like, hey, we got the budget for it. Money's not a problem with the RP show. So the Oilers got to get it going. They're 1-1 coming home tonight as I roll into point 2. The Oilers will be aiming to grab a 2-1 series lead in Game 3 tonight. The team from Texas, the Stars, salvaged a split at American Airlines Center with a 3-1 win Saturday. Oilers won Game 1, 3-2 in overtime. I did watch that one, and that was a thrill. You said how great these series have been, and they are. And let me just stop for a second. Our poll question today is this. Which teams will meet in the Stanley Cup Final? Edmonton, Florida, Edmonton, New York, or Dallas, Florida, Dallas, New York? And I'll just jump in first and say, sorry, Dallas, New York Rangers. Because you know me, Darren, I pick a side a lot of times at my own peril, but then I stay on that side. So I said Dallas would win the Stanley Cup, so clearly they'd have to win this series, A. And B, I had Carolina going to the Stanley Cup Final. The Rangers beat them, so I think it's going to be Rangers-Dallas in the Stanley Cup Final. So, and if that was the case, I wouldn't be getting to Edmonton at all. Not for hockey shows anyways. What are you voting in the poll?
After watching these series unfold the way they have so far, I'm going to vote Edmonton, New York, the complete opposite of you. At the beginning of the playoff, I had Dallas going to the Cup, and I had Carolina winning it. But as I watch these two series play, I think Edmonton has figured out, how to maximize their lineup through 4 lines. And, Florida's heavy, and they're playing well. I think over the course of 7 games, they'll be fine. So give me Edmonton, Florida.
Okay. Yeah, it's not totally. Yeah, that is totally different than what I said. Edmonton, Florida would be a lot of fun, and we could actually probably have, if the Panthers got out of the series, which I don't think they will, we could have Serena on the air from Florida. I could be in Edmonton. You in Toronto. We would have a lot of fun. I'm just stopping for a second and reading some comments from the audience. You can write us on the text line for Sober Carpenter non-alcoholic craft beers. Your phone's going off, Darren. 902-518-3033. Can you put it on silent, please? God, we're doing a TV show here and a radio show and live streaming as well. Anyways, where were we before I was so rudely interrupted? Or on YouTube in the chat, you can write us here too. Steven writes in, he says, Sunday mornings I wake up, I make my Kicking Horse coffee. Kids and me watch a YouTube channel called Just a Few Acres Farm, and then when I eat my eggs, I read the 10 weekend things column. It wasn't there. Oh, I'm sorry, Stephen. I'm sorry. I don't live to serve you. I think everybody needs to know I don't live to serve them. I live to serve me. So I was moving into Canada for the summer, getting ready and broadcasting baseball all weekend, and didn't have time to read the 10 things column. So I'm sorry. I hope it wasn't too big of an inconvenience. These people. Mark and Prince Albert, congrats on the new gig, Rod. Hopefully run into you at the ballpark this summer. I'm a baseball announcer, which, by the way, I'd never called a baseball game until Saturday night. First time in my life. I was telling Chuck here at the Moose Jaw Event Center that I've been in the business since I was 16 years of age. I'm 51 now. Never called a baseball game until Saturday night. That is some exciting stuff. John Ohm says, these remaining teams in the NHL are purely amazing games. Good on you, National Hockey League. I don't think people understood, Darren, at the time when the NHL announced the $6.2 billion revenue this season, or at least in their last fiscal year, was their best ever. We can sit and we can bitch about officiating. We can sit and bitch about start times. We can sit and bitch about a tiny, cramped little arena in Arizona. None of it matters because the NHL can point to $6.2 billion and say, we know what we're doing. Parity? You couldn't pick really who's going to be in the Stanley Cup Final. I guess they had repeat winners in Tampa Bay, a repeat winner just a few years ago. But everything's aces in the National Hockey League. That's what I think. I don't hear a lot of complaints about them, do you? Other than officiating, but you're going to get that all the time in any league, right?
It's just, yeah, you're just picking at different things, just like any other sport. But there's no, there's no real critical issue with the National Hockey League. I mean, you're talking about expansion and that market in Arizona, but I mean, that again, that's an issue, but they're solving it and still succeeding despite it. There's nothing really that's bringing the league down at this point. Everything seems to be pretty good, so we should enjoy it.
Yeah, and John's saying the parity, the games are great. The ratings are massive. It's the most watched Stanley Cup playoffs on television in U.S. history. I got to think a lot of that has to do with ESPN, clearly in their TV contract, but it's all good. Mark in Melfort writes in and says, welcome back to Canada, Rod. Enjoy the summer. I'm so happy to be here. You have no idea. If you see the pregame show last night, Panthers and Rangers, they were showing the weather. 96 Fahrenheit, severe heat weather in South Florida. Nope. I'm good. What? Sorry.
No, I can imagine. And Dallas, too, 36 degrees Celsius, at game time on Saturday night. Like, unbelievable.
Wayne in Victoria, BC says, I voted Edmonton, Florida, but my bias came in. Those are the two teams I want to meet in the final. At least you're honest, Wayne in BC. I think a lot of people vote in these polls for what they'd like to see, and the question is, who do you think will meet in the Stanley Cup final? And I'm sticking with Dallas and the New York Rangers. And a part of that of me is, too, going into the season, I thought the Panthers would make it as far as the Eastern Conference final. Whoever they were facing, I didn't know. And I don't think they're going to win this series. And I see some panic there, which, by the way, I could sit here and talk about that series forever, because if you're Paul Maurice, he was very composed in his news conference after the game last night. But here's all the media and the fans were saying, you dominated. They dominated. I'm like, they allowed 5 goals. Okay. And on the winner, Gaudreau was left all alone. Was it Gaudreau? Whoever scored the winner for the Rangers was left all alone in front of the net. I don't care what the shots were, okay? This ain't basketball. You didn't dominate. But if you think you did and you still lost, then you got some bigger problems than you think. Memorial Cup. Hunter Haight broke a tie on a power play with 7:44 left with his second goal of the game. And the host Saginaw Spirit improved to 2-0 at the Memorial Cup, beating the Drummondville Voltigeurs 4-3 Sunday night. Tonight, the London Knights will face the Western Hockey League champion, Moose Jaw Warriors. The Voltigeurs will play Moose Jaw Tuesday night. So watch party tonight here, 5:30. $5 gets you in. All proceeds go to the food bank. Food trucks, beer gardens. Yeah, come watch the game with fellow Warrior fans. We'll get into more of that later. Can I tell you a funny story, Darren? I don't want to make anybody look bad here, but the other night, calling the baseball game, and the young gal, the in-game announcer, as they say it in sports, she grabs this, 10-year-old boy in the crowd. She's like, okay, you're going to play Miller Express trivia, and you're going to win, whatever, cotton candy if you get it right. Can you name the 4 teams at the Memorial Cup? And the 10-year-old boy goes, London Knights, Moose Jaw Warriors, Saginaw Spirit, and Drummondville Voltigeurs. And the girl's like, no, it's the Drummondville Voyagers, but you're close, so we'll give it to you. And the kid was like, we're all like, no, he had it right. But he knew. The point is he's 10 years old. He's from Moose Jaw, and he knew.
He just pronounced the name wrong. 10. What's the big deal? Yeah.
Well, she's like, no, it's the Voyagers, but I'll give it to you anyway. No, he had it. I was listening in the press box, watching the whole thing. Anyways, at least they gave him the prize. But they know their junior hockey here in the Band City. When we come back, we've got Blue Jays, a CFL recap of CFL Super Saturday, and a CEBL recap of the weekend. And I appreciate Buffalo Bill writing in, and he says, I remember to thank service members on this Memorial Day. And I thank you for the reminder, and thank you to the men and women who have served around the world. We salute you every day, but especially on this Memorial Day. We'll be right back. We are live on the Game Plus television network. That's the Game Plus television network. Of course, on the radio, WQEE in Atlanta, and Apple Podcasts, YouTube Live, and Spotify.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience in the
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much, Rick Regan. And by the way, we are broadcasting live from the Moose Jaw Event Center in beautiful Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. Here tonight is the watch party for the Warriors' second game at the Memorial Cup. From our friend Corey Nyhagen. Want you to know, doors open at 5, puck drop at 5:30. There's food and drink specials, and someone will go home tonight with a pair of Warriors season tickets for next year. Tickets can be purchased right here at the Moose Jaw Event Center box office or online at sasktix.ca. Cost is $5, and those proceeds will be going to the Moose Jaw Food Bank. All right, let's please bring in the Moose again. There are other sports, apparently, going on, like the Toronto Blue Jays. Oh, I could spend some time on this. The visiting Toronto Blue Jays cracked out of their offensive slump Sunday, scoring 11 runs against the Detroit Tigers. Trouble is, they gave up 14 and lost their third straight game.
No.
The Jays who won 1 of 4 in Detroit, open a 3-game set today against the White Sox. In Chicago, Chris Bassett expected to pitch for the 23 and 29 Blue Jays. Here's the one thing I want to point out. You can't just roll into a broadcast booth and broadcast a sport if you don't have any idea what you're doing. Free advice there. So the thing is, when I was sitting here, everything's coming back to me. Scoring the game the other night, calling the Moose Jaw Miller Express. I know baseball. I loved the Blue Jays in the 90s when they were relevant. They were, almost swore, crappy for 20 years. And I kind of got out of it. And then they won back-to-back pennants, right? 2015, 2016. But then they fired Alex Anthopoulos, and they fired a lot of my friends. So I'm quasi-cheering for them. And now they suck, and I'm just not really paying attention. It's not that I don't know baseball. I'm just not really into the Blue Jays. I'm into them when they're winning. About it. But you're in Toronto. So tell me, please, how it's going over there that the Jays just suck day after day after day. I feel like, go.
It's not going well anywhere. It's not going well anywhere. Forget about Toronto. This is Canada's team, and all across the country, I'm pretty sure it's pretty similar. Surprised that there hasn't been moves made. Upset that, you continue to preach patience when there's no signs that it's going to turn around and stay turned around. You get little glimpses where they, win 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4 once, and then can't continue that, kind of stretch. And they need to go on a 10 to 15 game heater, in order to quell the fan base and I think keep everybody's jobs secure. But right now, whether it's, upstairs or whether it's John Schneider, nobody's job is safe right now. It's just a matter of when, I feel like.
It's interesting to watch because, again, dyed-in-the-wool football hockey guy here, that's my thing and that's my circle, but you still hear things and you hear about the way the Blue Jays have treated people and fired people and the way those at the top of the organization are as leaders, and you just hear it. I don't know. I'm not around it. And now that they're losing, you're seeing people come out of the woodwork on social media, like baseball people saying, this is karma, this is how they treat people. I'm like, whoa. Maybe that's true, but you weren't saying that when they were in the playoffs every year. So that people they're just waiting for you to stub your toe, and that's what the Blue Jays have done this year. So again, I learned on the weekend not only how much that I know baseball, and because I was nervous. Saturday night was the first game I've ever done. It came off great, and realized how much I really enjoy baseball, but I'm like, I'm just not going to sit and follow the Blue Jays. I will follow them if they're winning, and they're not. We've got Canadian Elite Basketball League coming up, too. Here's the one thing I realized as well. 20 years working in the Canadian Football League. Darren, I said this to you before we went to the air. There's a lot of things not only going on in this province, but in this country that aren't the CFL in the summertime. Like the leagues we've been talking about here, and I haven't even got to the CEBL yet. But on Saturday, because we are CFL fans, you and I, and a very large chunk of our audience, it was Super Saturday in the CFL. 4 games. They weren't all back-to-back, but whatever. The one that we were following, and I couldn't, the CFL.ca, the streaming didn't work 100% for me. Some of the game? Brett Lowther's 23-yard field goal with 23 seconds left lifted to the Saskatchewan Roughriders to a 28-27 win over the Edmonton Elks in preseason play. The good news for Edmonton fans was McLeod Bethel Thompson, their quarterback, passed for 190 yards in his Elks debut. Down the Highway 2 in Calgary, an early heads-up play by Mark and Michelle was all the Calgary Stampeders needed to propel them to a 30-6 preseason win over the BC Lions at McMahon. Following a 30-minute lightning delay, starting quarterback Jake Mayer engineered a 9-play, 72-yard drive that culminated with him tossing a 35-yard touchdown pass to Michelle at 5:44 of the first quarter. In a game out east that featured 2 returning players, it was an incumbent who may have left the biggest impression. Dustin Crum made his case to remain the Ottawa Red Blacks starting quarterback Saturday, leading Hamilton to a 31-22 preseason win over the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I think I saw Scott Milanovich, the coach of Hamilton, say he felt his team was just okay in the game, something like that. And Bo Levi played, I think, a half and said he felt great. And my guy, Cody, quarterback Cody Fajardo, connected with Canadian receiver Keon Julian Grant on a 48-yard throw to open the scoring, and the defending Grey Cup champions defeated the Yargos 30-13 in CFL play Saturday night. That finished all the games Fajardo finished with 107 passing, 7 for 8, in less than a quarter of action for Montreal. 13,787 at Molson Stadium. So here's the thing for all the rider-priders that are watching right now. I guess the question going into training camp and coming out is who is the number 2 quarterback going to be behind Trevor Harrison. I don't think that they sorted that out. But I'm obviously now gravitating towards Western Canadian Baseball League. I'm planning on going to the Saskatchewan Rattlers game Thursday night. They got courtside tickets for me. So I'm becoming like a lot of the people that are just fans now of the CFL, not the day-to-day inertia of what goes on with transactions and so forth. Point being, to land the plane, Darren, is training camp's over. Wasn't really paying attention anymore to the preseason games. I'll be watching all the regular season games. That's where I'm at. Over to you.
Yeah, I mean, the preseason, what does it mean? Not a lot, but, being confident and winning those games still matters a little bit. Like, it's culture, right? You set winning culture, and so you want to win every time you step on the field. That's your starters, your 2s, your 3s, and all the rest. So, don't completely discount the wins if you're a fan, but also don't take them too seriously at the same time. And it'll be fun to see some of the battles now and some of the different cuts that come out, and I'm sure there'll be a few surprises.
Boy, we got some cool comments that have come in. I thank everybody for tuning in today. Regarding the home run jackets back, I was only in Canada a day, and that story was that's the big story. The Blue Jays have broken out the home run jacket again. Where is it? Reg in Winnipeg says they should only do that stupid home run jacket when it results in getting the lead or winning the game. Oh, my God, please don't. I've told you the story before. We had that running back with the Rough Riders, Hugh Charles, that used to do the backflips after touchdowns. We're getting beat by 28 points in Winnipeg in a game. He scores a touchdown, does a backflip. And I remember on the plane home, I was sitting beside him, and one of the vets leaned over me and goes, "Hey, Hugh, maybe can it with the backflips when we're down by 4 touchdowns." Captain Lou is watching in Michigan. He says, sad when the Jays make our Tigers look like world beaters. John Ohm in Winnipeg. Says, I'm the same with you, Rod, on the Blue Jays. Hard to watch these days. Listen, dude, again, I totally get it. I'm only going to watch you if you're winning or challenging. If you suck, I am not obligated to watch you. There's a lot of other things going on in sports. Do you agree, Darren? We're not obligated to watch them.
No, of course not. You watch what you're interested in. You watch where you want to watch. And, when you're in this business too, you watch so you have things to talk about as well. But no, there's no obligation to watch. Absolutely not.
Yeah, no, not at all, Jays. Come on, pick it up or we're out like the rest of the country. And that's why you see the ratings dip. Everybody's talking about the Stanley Cup playoffs. That's the big story. And we'll get back to that right away. From the audience, Ron in Calgary, watching on Game Plus Television, says Dallas versus Florida final. Hey, I wouldn't have a problem with that, and that would be the second consecutive Sun Belt final. But, sure, I picked the Rangers to win, and they're up 2-1 in the series after back-to-back overtime wins, which, by the way, I don't know. I couldn't say this on the Cats and Bolts podcast. I'd be skinned alive. But Matt Rempe, did you see him coming after Tkachuk last night or yesterday? Tkachuk was like backpedaling, didn't want any part of Rempe. I was in an argument with some U.S. hockey fans over the impact of a guy like Matt Rempe in this series. They're like, he's not having an impact at all. It's the little things that you don't see that you don't even know. If Matt Rempe being dressed makes Matthew Tkachuk a different player, if he doesn't try all the cheap stuff that he normally does, then he's not being effective, and Rempe didn't even have to do anything. Do people understand that? Just his presence on the bench makes the Rangers a different team. What do you need? Do you need to have played the game to understand that, Darren? Because I don't think people understand this type of, the importance of a guy like Matt Rempe. Deal or no deal?
Yeah, and it goes both ways. Like, there is, a time and place for players like Matt Rempe, or, we look at Ryan Reeves in Toronto and other players like that. There's a time and place, not always effective. But yeah, in a situation that you just clearly outlined, that's exactly how they can affect the game. If it makes, a star or a pest on the other team think a little bit, then yeah, it's accomplished. Because, if you're going to bring a guy into a lineup like a Rempe who's not going to chew up minutes, and you're going to leave maybe somebody that's a little more skilled up in the press box, they need to contribute to the game. And that's one way you can contribute without even stepping on the ice. And it is real.
That's the stuff I want to talk about. And it's very valuable for me to get a week off like I had last week so I can just pull my head out and look around. I was watching a lot of Pat McAfee, and I'm like, McAfee just talks about whatever the hell he wants to talk about. Like, I'm sitting there going, I thought he started as an NFL show. Isn't that how he cut his teeth? And now he's got the Indianapolis 500 driver on. He's got the Kentucky Derby driver. And by the way, I'm enjoying it. So he's not talking about what you think he should talk about. We're not going to talk about what you think we should talk about. We'll talk about what we want to talk about. Jeff writes in from the 780. He says, welcome back to the wild, wild West, Rod. I'm heading to Regina for the weekend of June 23rd when my Ticats are in town. Maybe meet up for some of that famous pizza if you're around. Here's what I'm telling everybody, Jeff, you and all and sundry. I'll be in Moose Jaw. You want to come over to Moose Jaw? We'll go for pizza. Now, I told you on Thursday night that I will be going to the Rattlers game. Saturday night, Jalen Harris exploded for 31 points to help the Saskatchewan Rattlers erase a 23-point deficit en route to a 96-90 win over the Montreal Alliance. The Saskatchewan guard and former Raptor also shot 50% from beyond the arc, dished out 5 assists, and snagged 3 rebounds in the win. They are 2-0, the Saskatchewan Rattlers, and they're home Thursday night. I don't even know who they're playing. Don't matter. I'm going. On Sunday in the CEBL, it was Brampton over Ottawa, 99-82, and Vancouver beat Scarborough, 88-83. Moose, we'll see you in hour 2.
See you then.
Matthew Barnaby joins us next. We got a lot to get to with Barney. 18th all-time in NHL penalty minutes. We're live from the Moose Jaw Event Center where the watch party will be tonight for the Warriors at the Memmer as they take on London. We are on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Now the race is on and here comes pride in the backstretch. Celebrate 40 years of Sawyer Brown. Some girls don't like boys like me. With Shenandoah. You got to get me to the church on the Cumberland Road. Plus special guest George Fox. Saturday, October 26th, Moose Jaw Event Center. I'll take the dirt road. Tickets are on sale now at the Moose Jaw Event Center box office or online at sasktix.ca. 6 days on the road and I'm Sawyer Brown and Shenandoah live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver.
3033. 902 518 3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902 518 3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
This former producer of major market television shows writing into us anonymously to say he just found our show on Game Plus Television. Here's some tips. The show has ADD. It's all over the place. Your sound effects are annoying. And your host is arrogant. Right on all counts. But that's what we want. That's what we wanted it to be.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
It's crazy. Yeah. Come on, I want that guy back. Hi, welcome to Hour 2. Could we bring Moose in here right away? He's in Toronto. I'm at the Moose Jaw Events Center for those that have just tuned in. I got a lot of fun things to get to here. Darren, everybody. How long ago was it that guy just anonymously found our show here on Game Plus Television? And he's like, oh, yeah, I worked in major markets as a producer, and here's a checklist of what's wrong with your show. Thought I would let you know. Hey, buddy. We didn't ask for it. And number 2, you're former, probably for a reason. And he never came back. What's on your mind, Darren, as we go to Hour 2? What is on your mind? Has the big story, the Stanley Cup playoffs, changed for you in the last hour or no? Do you have another big story?
Oh, yeah. No, today, and not to get down this path, but today my big story is tennis and the French Open. But again, I said kind of last week when I was hosting the show, this is such a great time of year that last night, the Stanley Cup final was my big story. This morning, it is tennis. This afternoon, it's going to be Memorial Cup. And tonight, it'll be hockey again with the NHL. So it's just like this. And there is no shortage of things to do. So that's how my day is going to roll.
Well, and here's the thing. I don't care whether people agree with me or not, but I am what I am, feel what I feel, and that ain't changing. This is the best time of the year. You know that I say that all the time, and I get people, like 99% of people say it's the fall. Spring Classic in the majors, football kicking off, hockey starting, all good. That's great. You can have it. This is my favorite time of the year. By the way, we are at the Moose Jaw Civic Center, where tonight, the Moose Jaw Warriors will be visiting, they're taking on London at the Memorial Cup in Saginaw, Michigan. And here tonight, the watch party will be right here on that screen, that big screen. Food trucks are open. We got the beer gardens right over here, and I'll be here. I was here Friday night, and it was great. And we'll be here tonight. $5 at the door, all proceeds of the food bank, Moose Jaw Warriors, and the event center here in Moose Jaw putting it on. Now, our poll question, before I get to some viewer comments here that are very good, and some other important things that I want to bring up that we haven't yet today, is who will meet in the Stanley Cup final. That's the poll question today. And just so you know, it's literally like a 4-way split. Leading the vote is Edmonton, New York Rangers, 28%. 28%, the most saying Oilers, Rangers, Stanley Cup final. 25% say Dallas, New York Rangers is what I voted for. 24% say the Oilers and Panthers, and 23% say Stars, Panthers. So it's split like literally almost 4 straight ways, which is crazy. And the thing, by the way, that's why it's hilarious. I said I was on the radio in Toledo yesterday. 100.7, the cheap seat, ESPN Radio Toledo. And Mick, the host, brought me on. I think you've been on with Mick before. He brought me on to talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs. But then he brought up the CFL, and he's like, I don't care. The CFL's not big here in Ohio, but I want to talk about it. It's my show. And I'm like, dude, cool. And then he gave me a little guff about me saying Winnipeg's going to be hard to beat. But what I said was, and I want your point on your take and also the audience's take on this, because they love talking about the broadcasters. I don't really know why, but they love talking about the media and the broadcasters. The guys talked about home ice and what it meant in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and I said, if you go back and look, I think the road teams won 50% of the games. I said, these conference finals, as of Sunday morning, were both 1-1. I don't get why people get so wrapped up in home ice and the last chain. And I brought up how Matt Rempe, it doesn't matter who you put him out against, if they can get to the whistle and he doesn't cost you a goal, which he hasn't, if he can go influence and intimidate a guy like Matthew Tkachuk, he's done his job. It doesn't matter what the line changes are. I think when Matthew Barnaby was with us last hour and he was talking about how much the home ice will be a factor tonight in Edmonton, I'm sure it will be. But the Oilers won Game 7 on the road in Vancouver. I feel there's way more emphasis put on home ice than should be in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And to be honest, in football too, it's like 50-50 now. I don't know how that changed, but it's not as big a deal, Darren.
I know. It's really not. It's changed so much. And, we've had, people come on this show and conversations that I've had at the rink and at the stadium and all the rest. The player has changed too. And every player is so much in their own mindset now. They've got their own routine, their own training program, their own nutrition habits and program to follow. They all get the headphones in, right? The earbuds or the over-the-ear headphones, doing their own thing. And to be honest, they're more on their own at home now than they are on the road. When you're on the road, at least you're on the plane together, you're on the bus together, you're at the hotel together, you're at the team meal together. You're doing all these things together. And at home, everybody's on their own in a different place, on a different timeline, right, with different distractions. But the crowd in Edmonton will be unbelievable, and that will be an edge for the Oilers tonight.
For that reason, let's say Edmonton will win tonight. Fine. I'm not saying the home crowd doesn't be a benefit, but I'm saying it's not the be-all and the end-all. And you bring up a really good point about how the players have changed. And I wanted to say this too. The guy that was on with Mick, I never caught his name, but he works for the local hockey team in Toledo. I'm not sure if they're still called the Gold Diggers or not. But I said, why do I keep hearing this 5-on-5 play thing? When special teams are deciding the games, why do the people get all wrapped up in what the 5-on-5 goals were? Or I saw an interview last night after postgame. The Panthers had over 100 shot attempts. How did they lose this game? What the hell is a shot attempt? They allowed 5 goals, okay? This is what's deciding the game, not your nerdy little numbers. And the guy on the radio in Toledo said, Rod, it's because it's what the announcers talk about. He goes, on ESPN and TNT, the announcers bring up all these analytics and stats. And Mick goes, yeah, well, I watch the CBC because here in Ohio we get the CBC, and and they don't talk about those numbers. I'm like, no, they don't. That's number one. You don't, Darren, they don't. And number two, I saw was it Game 1, Oilers Stars, the announcers saying how Jim Nill, Dallas Stars general manager, and Ken Holland, Edmonton Oilers general manager, played together in the 70s in Medicine Hat, and how they're very tight. And, of course, won Stanley Cups together in Detroit in management. They won't talk to each other during this series. And I'm like, of course not, because it's old school. It's kind of the way it should be. But you talk about how the players now, they're going out for protein shakes after the game together. I'm not going to name names, but it is different. I mean, it's almost at a point now where Nill and Holland won't speak to each other during the series. Who cares? Like, I'm sure the young kids look at that and go, why not? Don't they like each other? That's the way we all used to be.
I know. And that was a big part of the coverage is they met at the beginning of the series. They met once, had a convo, and then they won't speak for the rest of the series because you know what? It's friends off. You're on the other side. You're in my way to get to the Stanley Cup. So you are my sworn enemy for the next 10 days. End of story. And I'm good with that. Anytime you can have a little hate in sports and do it in the right way is a good thing.
That's why, by the way, here in Moose Jaw, for those that don't know my history here, we were sworn bitter rivals. Same as me with Winnipeg. But the thing was, here in Moose Jaw, I'm now the voice of the Miller Express baseball team. Been treated great, given all this gear. They get it. I just wanted to win, and they wanted to win. It was old school. We didn't like each other. But can we get over it? You know? And same thing as Winnipeg. Why do we have so many viewers in Winnipeg? They get it. They hated me too. I don't hate them anymore. The Calgary thing is what it is. And listen, we'll come back on this in a second, but Troy in Toronto writes in, and I can only view this as a God shot that he would write at this time, and I have what he wants us to talk about lined up and ready to discuss. Troy in Toronto, you know him. You met him at the Argos game. He says, I hope you haven't talked about PGA golfer Grayson Murray yet. I am interested to hear your thoughts on his passing. So, on cue, news coming out of the weekend. Grayson Murray's parents say their 30-year-old son took his own life. Murray died on Saturday, one day after he withdrew from a PGA Tour event at the Colonial. Eric and Terry Murray are asking for privacy and that people honor their son by being kind to one another. His death comes at a time when Murray appeared to be on track with his life and his golf. He has been open about his struggles with mental health and alcoholism. He said when he won the Sony Open in January that he had been sober for the last 8 months. Troy, your lips to God's ears, however you want to say it. I had it lined up and ready to talk about, but we're not going to spend a ton of time on it. But for those that don't know, we call ourselves The View for sports fans. I've been at Tim Hortons every day, in some cases multiple times, Darren, since I've been back in Canada.
Of course.
And it's a daily coffee discussion here. And basically, when I go, what are we going to talk about on the show? What would they be talking about on The View if they were a sports show? Because that's us. They would talk about 30-year-old PGA golfer Grayson Murray taking his own life overnight, Friday night, Saturday morning, mental health and alcoholism issues. Well, hello, I battled those too. If and I may, so has Troy. And the parents' wish is to be kind to each other. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be kind to people. Darren's always kind to people. But I mean, I'm sitting here in Moose Jaw having the time of my life. Just so they know, Darren knows all this because he's behind the scenes with this show. I said to Serena, and we're married in Florida, I said, I'd like to go to Canada for the summer. Do you have a problem with that? She said, I'll pack your bags. If that makes you happy, go. And within about 24 to 48 hours, our CEO, Joe Gunnis, who's here in Moose Jaw, said, hey, we have an opening for the play-by-play of the Moose Jaw Miller Express. Would you like to do it? I'm like, I think I would. I said, I've never done baseball before. Doesn't matter. You'll learn. And I did. Point being, I'm here. I'm happy. Being nice to people. That's what I want to do. Let's be nice to each other. That's what Grayson Murray's parents are asking for. But it's rare because I told you before the show, the same 5 loser haters that are always on my ass are picking on me that I'm in Moose Jaw and that I need the job and nobody watches this show. They're not going to get the message about being nice to each other. So if we could run around, Darren, and tattoo it on everybody's wrist or across their forehead, be nice to each other. Might be the only way that we have a chance to be nice to each other. And some people can do it for maybe an hour, but they're just angry people. We're in a mental health crisis globally. And I'm a mental health and addiction professional. I'm already talked more about this than I wanted to, although maybe I'm supposed to talk about it right now and deliver the message. Valerie Nichushkin, we covered that extensively. And I was on the player's side because I've been in his shoes and found the road out. There is a road out, but sometimes it's harder to find for others. And the way Grayson Murray, his road ended, is not something we want to see. But I don't know the guy. I'm not a golf fan. I don't know his story. I think I'll sum it up with this, and you get ready to speak here. Everybody's dealing with something. Everybody. Every single life has pain. You can look at somebody that you think has the perfect life. You don't know what they're dealing with. So just worry about yourself and do what it takes to make you happy. Because the thing is, what I've realized is the happier I get, and I've never been happier, the more that angers some people. And that's really sick and twisted. But that's also their problem. I think the main thing is, if you're thinking of just pulling the chute and saying, and giving up, and I'm not holding that against Grayson Murray. I mean, that's what he did, but I don't know what his issues are. I'm not judging him, but he took his life. We don't want that, okay? We don't want that. But I don't know any of what his story is. Or did he try to get help? I don't know. What do you think when you heard the news? What's your take on this?
Yeah, it's awful and very tragic and sad. He just won this year at the Sony, and it's tough. You know, you withdraw the one day and then the next day you're not there, and they got to go on and finish that golf tournament. And that's tough because, you know, it didn't matter if you're close to somebody or not. And for us that, you know, for the public, the viewing public, and for the people watching, it's okay to be upset and sad about it, even if you didn't know him, because he was on your television screen one day. You're watching him play golf one day, and the next day you find out that he's gone. And even worse, when you played right next to him, or you were having a conversation with somebody one day, and the next day they're not there. Whether you were close to them or not, that's tough to deal with. And, you know, and when somebody takes their own life and you wonder what people are going through, even more difficult. So, yeah, you can't always control how somebody takes your message, and that's not always your responsibility, how somebody else takes your message. But empathy and emotional intelligence is just about being, you know, at least aware of what somebody else might be going through. And it starts with being kind and being courteous. And, you know, we just need more of that in the world.
Yeah, that's it. His parents said the right thing. Let's just be nice to each other. It's clearly a terrible story. But I don't know what his story is. For those in the addiction, you know, our story's all the same. You know, very similar. I don't know specifically what his story is. Jeff in Yorkton says, it was a surprise to see you do the baseball thing, but you can bring joy by doing what you want to do. He says, the haters are just jealous. Oh, I know. I know. And I got to remind myself of that all the time, too. But mainly, just work on being happy. If you worked on that, you wouldn't be worried about taking your own life, let's put it that way, or even thinking about it. So I can't see us talking about that when we come back. We got Stanley Cup playoffs to get to. Guys want to talk about some CEBL. It's on the radar, everybody. And it's also on Game Plus television, as are we. We'll be right back here on Game Plus, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Well, this show is just going swimmingly, isn't it? I love it. It's our first day back on the air in Canada. We're live from the Moose Jaw Event Center in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. Here tonight, we'll have the watch party for the Warriors Memorial Cup game against the London Knights on that screen right over my shoulder, and I will be here. And you can, too, if you're in the area. $5 at the door. All proceeds going to the food bank. Concessions are open, beer gardens, and all the rest. Moose, do I have you sold yet? He's in Toronto. If I made it sound like something you'd like to be interested in that you would go to, Moose, if you were around?
Of course, if I was there watching the game with everybody, it would be great. So, yeah, it's the next best atmosphere to being either in the rink in Saginaw, no doubt. So, yeah, I would go if I was there for sure.
Okay, so what I've learned, too, and we're going to talk about the Pat McAfee show in a second, but what makes that show, the Pat McAfee show, is Pat McAfee. So what makes the Rod Pedersen show is Rod Pedersen. We got to get to a lot more of my stories. And not just old-time stories, but current stories. I'm driving around Moose Jaw here the other day, listening to the pregame show, and you'd kind of have to know the voice of the Warriors, James Gallo, to appreciate this. But you know him, so you'll get it. He goes, we're here in the Dow Center in Saginaw. We're moments away from the first ever Moose Jaw Warriors game at the Memorial Cup. He almost felt like they were intruding or surprised to be there. You know what I mean? He's just so polite. And then the Warriors went out and played like they were just happy to be there. I think they fell down 4-0 and then came back and eventually lost 5-3. But can you just hear Gallo? We're just moments away from the first ever Moose Jaw Warriors game at the Memorial Cup. And I'm like, come on, James, act like you're supposed to be there, because you are. And I think that's the way they're going to come out and play tonight against London. That's what I think.
Well, look at the game one, getting that lead, dropping behind and then storming back. It's kind of their MO. At least it was in that Saskatoon series, right? Blades would come out, play well. Moose Jaw scrappy, finding ways back in. So that's one thing I'll say about the Moose Jaw Warriors is no matter what happens in the game, they're never out of it. They're down 3, they're down 4, right. They're down 2. It doesn't matter. The Moose Jaw Warriors, they'll find a way to come back and make the game interesting. But tonight, big tough test against London. But as we know, this is still a long tournament, and your tournament's not on the line tonight, but this is a big test for them.
Let's have a better start tonight, men. And I also know that we air in London, Ontario on Game Plus television. So to everybody in London, we're not cheering for you. By the way, what we do here, hour one, we look back. And in hour two, we look ahead. So tonight, it is Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Western Conference Final, Dallas Stars at Edmonton Oilers. We've all agreed the Oilers are going to win tonight. Blue Jays playing the White Sox this afternoon. We all agree. We don't care about them unless they're winning. That's me. I shouldn't speak for everybody. NBA playoffs, because there are a lot of NBA fans that watch this show, believe it or not. Boston Celtics at the Indiana Pacers tonight. Well, Johnny O, anyways, the big Celtics fan that I know. The Celtics look to complete a sweep. Isn't it interesting that no teams ever come back from a 3-0 deficit in the NBA? Never. That is wild. What is it now in the NHL? Is it 3 have come back in the NHL?
Yeah.
For the longest time, it was 1.
I know. It is so mind-blowing that it's never happened, especially when you look at great, how good the players are. And the parity, too. I mean, I feel like basketball has less parity than hockey does, but there's still parity and stars everywhere, I just think that's mind-blowing that it's never happened. Maybe this will be the first. Maybe this will be the first.
I feel like you're right. It doesn't make sense. It's very hard to believe that no team's ever come back from 0-3 down. But if you're the coach, you're saying, why not us? That's what the coach of the Warriors says, Mark O'Leary. So that's what's going on tonight. We'll get into more of those games in a second. I just want to go to the comments. Mandy in Edmonton writes in, and she says, hi, Rod, just tuning in. I hope you had a nice holiday in Saskatchewan and that Lynch's celebration of life went well. And she said, is your new role with Moose Jaw going to interfere with your show? Not at all. It's so great. We're on the air here 10 a.m. to noon, Mountain, every day, live, and the games are at night. Perfect. And we can do it from anywhere, this show. So, and I'm only doing home games. To be honest, it couldn't have worked out better. And it's in my commentary today at rodpeterson.com if you want a deeper dive on I spoke at the funeral of the Hall of Fame writer, broadcaster John Frenzy on Friday. There's more of it there in the commentary today. Go read it at rodpeterson.com right now. But it must have been 85 years of age. He was born in 37, around 85. Anyways, the church was full of Rough Riders legends and Rider fans. Darren, I don't know if it's like this in Edmonton for you, Mandy, or even if it's like this in Florida. I've never paid attention where my actual home is, but I drove by the church an hour and 5 minutes before the actual funeral started. There were people going in. Some of them had walkers, and they were wearing Rider jerseys. We got to get a spot, Martha! It was exactly what you think it would be. Rider fans, I'm guessing some of them had never even met John Lynch, but they felt like they knew him because they listened to him on the radio from 1966 until 1982. What a man. What a flippin' man. And then we had an Elvis impersonator, Rory Allen, come and sing a few. Like Serena, if she's watching right now, serving Nanaimo bars and cold cuts because, of course, we did. I've learned, Darren, it's just a Saskatchewan thing. I get it now. And for those that have never left, you don't get it because you've never been anywhere else. And that's not your fault. You don't want to be anywhere else, and that's cool. I wanted to experience some other things. It's Alabama. It's Mississippi. So the Rough Riders are the most iconic football team in Canada, so I can say this. I don't care where we're airing. I did not tell you this, I don't think. I'm sitting in the church beside Roger Aldag, was the Rider career leader in games played. Now it's Gene Mikowski. Steve Mazurik on this. Kirby Cazell from Suds Car Wash on this side. I'm speaking like John Lynch. And I'm listening to the eulogy delivered by former Rough Riders president John Lipp. And it's Riders, 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 Lynch, Riders, 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 Lynch, Riders. I'm going, it's a cult. It's a cult. It's a cult. I can see it. I'm sitting there. I'm drinking the green Kool-Aid, man. I'm lapping it up with a ladle. I'm like, you understand? They're brainwashed, Aaron. And for 23 years, I did the brainwashing. Like,
I was going to say, it's a cult, Rod, and you were their leader.
I know. If you want to know, Mandy, that's what it was. That's what it was. I'm sitting there going, my mind is slowly my brain's being sucked out my right ear. And it's being filled with green this ear. Oh, my God. So, yeah, it was quite a day. Nanaimo bars, cold cuts, and pickles. Saskatchewan.
Yes.
Stephen writes in from North Dakota, and he says, anxiety and depression destroy lives. Thanks for weekday therapy, RP show. That's the point. That's why I don't really like talking about this stuff, because I don't want to sit here and pontificate on it. And to be honest, it's not fun. But I have lived it. I have overcome it. And now I'm helping others get out of it. So I guess that's what we do. But I don't want to dedicate too much time to it, because I also want to be a fun show. Buffalo Bill writes in and says, is there an opportunity to be in the audience this summer for the RP show live? I don't think so. Not as it stands now, but maybe one day at a time, which reminds me, where is it? John in Edmonton. Bear with me, Doug. John in Edmonton says, Rod, if Florida makes it to round 4, are you going to go back to Florida? And if they play Edmonton, are you going to go to Edmonton for games? I think he needs to understand that we ain't ESPN. So if the Oilers make it to the Stanley Cup final, I already told Joe I want to go to Edmonton. And my guess is we would probably do the show from Rogers Place. Probably River Creek Casino. Listen, folks, you got to understand how this business works. When we went up there to do the World Juniors, TSN made a big stink out of the fact that the RP show was in Rogers Place. You know that. You weren't there, but you heard the stories, Darren. And Hockey Canada was our sponsor, and they said, he's in the rink, Rod's our guy. So if you remember, we did our show overlooking the ice in Gene Principe's spot. I'm pretty sure that wouldn't happen again. So we'll go to River Creek Casino and have big fun. That's what I would like to do, but I don't know. As the bracelet says, one day at a time, John. But thanks for asking. Aaron in Edmonton writes in. He says, it's got to be 3 teams coming back from down 3-0, right? In the NHL, yes. I think it's 3. But in the NBA, it's never happened, and I just find that crazy. Jeff in Yorkton says, yes, we are a cult. LOL. Hey, at least you admit it. But it was like I'm sitting in the pew. It's like the tractor beam from Star Wars. Pulling me into the... No, I'm out. You know what I mean? It's that. No, I'm not in the cult. I'm a CFL fan, period. And that works for everybody. Troy in Toronto says, I can't wait for the Knights and Warriors game tonight. London is a great team. And my friend Paulie O'Byrne is the mental health consultant with the team. So I will help represent London. There you go, Troy. That's the interesting thing, by the way. There are teams that have mental health consultants and coaches. I do it for individual teams. I do it for leagues. And there are some teams, by the way, that don't have them. And the team that I did it with won the Western Hockey League title, not this year, but it was a past team. And here's London. Who's running them? Dale Hunter. You think they're just lucky that they're in the Memorial Cup every year, London. They're just lucky. They must have haters, eh, Darren? London's just lucky that they're there all the time. What do you think?
I know. They're one of the iconic, major junior franchises in the country, and most successful. But it's not luck. It's good people, right? You got good people doing things the right way. And from the scouting department, right to Dale Hunter, right to, everybody in that organization. They do things the right way, and they're successful as a result.
Oh, my God. Shawn Simpson's coming in next. Simmer, my good buddy from Ottawa, and he gets it. You wonder why some teams always win and some teams always lose. The teams that always win think of every little thing. Andy Reid, Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl. Hey, guys, if we get to overtime in the Super Bowl, remember, it's different rules in the playoffs than it is in the regular season. Oh, you get to overtime in the Super Bowl, and they got it locked down. Kyle Shanahan, 49ers, so we're going to overtime, coach. Poops himself. Never thought about it. And Dale Hunter has a mental health consultant there for his players in the event they need it. It's not saying they do, but in case they do, we got a guy or gal. Why some teams always win and some teams always lose. Write it down. Okay, Moose, this has been fun. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Welcome back. Enjoy the rest of yours, too.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be in Moose Jaw. It's getting worked up, but it's just some teams and some companies don't get it. And they're the losers. And they will always be. But then they want to sit and point at the winners and go, they're just lucky. We'll be right back. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers, Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with The Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
All right, everybody, we are back, and as you know, when we talk hockey, it's brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. I met this guy at the 2017 Grey Cup and loved him right away. Shawn Simpson joins us. I don't know how to introduce him now. TSN Ottawa alum, Capitals alum, looking like $1 million. Simmer, welcome back to the RP Show. How are you, brother?
Thanks very much, Rod. No, I'm good. Glad to be on, and went on with Wally and Yorkie this morning. So great too. After lots going on here the last year, just nice to be back talking some sports, and always great to catch up with you.
Well, you got the $1 million smile too. It's nice to see you smiling, Simmer. And listen, I'm going to start right here. Poll question today for our audience. I'll put it to you. Who's going to be in the Stanley Cup final? The options are Dallas, Florida, Dallas Rangers, Edmonton, Florida, Edmonton Rangers. Who do you have in the Stanley Cup final?
Rod, you go through, and I kind of go night to night. Here's the thing going into the Edmonton-Dallas series. I didn't know about Skinner, and I wanted him to do well, but I saw so much nervous energy. Game 7 against Vancouver, although not tested, I thought, hey, at least he got through. Then I watched a couple of games in Dallas and said, man, this guy's actually calmed down. The fact that Skinner looks confident, can be at home a little bit nervous as a goaltender, but I like that factor. I like the home crowd. I like where Edmonton's at. So I'm going to go with Edmonton. On the other side, boy, oh boy, I really feel like, and I know they won last night, I think Carolina knocked the crap out of the Rangers, and I know they scored 5 last night, but I don't know how much energy they have left. So I'm going to give a slight edge to Florida. But I'll also say this, these are the 4 best teams. It is the Final Four. You got a little bit of a fatigue factor on every side, Rod. But at the end of the day, right now, as it sits today, I'll go with Edmonton, Florida. And I'd love to see the loyal and great fans of Edmonton end up winning the Stanley Cup. Nothing to do with Canada. They just deserve it. They've gone through hell here the last 40 years, so I think it would be awesome.
I'm with you on all of that, but it just jarred my memory. You and I are both goalie guys, and the first couple of games of the Eastern Conference Final were a masterpiece. And then that yesterday. I don't expect Bob to come back and give up 5 in Game 4. I don't. I think he'll lock it down.
No.
What do you think?
No, I agree with you. And here's the thing. I think I put out a tweet yesterday about scoring's at a premium. This is always classic because I do think all 4 teams look a little tired. You watch Edmonton off the rush right now. McDavid looks very human. The Rangers, as I said, Carolina should have won that series. That second goal in Game 6 that Anderson allowed let them back in it. Boy, Bobrovsky, I love those stories, Rod. Last year it was up into the playoffs. I mean, didn't even start the playoffs, had a great playoff, had a great regular season. He looks like he can steal a game, but so can Shesterkin. So that to me is a bit of a soft, but I haven't thought Shesterkin's looked quite as confident, to be quite honest, in the playoffs. Not squaring up the same, maybe not quite as athletic, where Bobrovsky we saw certainly in Game 1. Oh, my. That was Dominic Hasek-esque. So certainly love the way that he's playing right now. And I just love what Florida's done. Bill Zito and changing up the Chuck and so many of the moves that they made, including bringing in Paul Maurice. I didn't know how they'd be this year. I was kind of skeptical going into the season, whether or not that was just kind of a one-off. But they've shown that whole effect, the way that they play gritty, I think that'll give them the edge against the Rangers. Rangers every year in the playoffs, it's goaltending and special teams. And if you can shut down that power play, I like Florida's chances.
There are a lot of people that agree with you on Florida, but I will say this. They were a better team coming back from last year. We all kind of knew they'd be a 100-point team, and then they add Tarasenko, who you watched regularly in Ottawa this year, and Okposo. So they are a better team, but here's the difference that I want your take on, because not only did you play, but you worked in front offices too. They're trying to bully teams, and they've been able to do it all year, but they've been diving. They've been called for dive. Bob dives. I don't like that. I didn't like that he got kicked in the head last night by Lafreniere. That's terrible. But Bob, I don't like that Bob dives. Like, they don't play an honest bullying game, Florida.
Yeah, they're
You know what I
kind of
mean?
ratty. I mean, you look at Kachuk at times, you look at Bennett, you look at some of the other players, and you can even get into the argument if that wasn't Trouba on the elbow yesterday, was it really an elbow? Did he really catch the player, or was the player kind of playing around a little bit? What I do like is that they do show up to play, though. I mean, that's one thing. Sam Bennett, we were talking about earlier today. Nobody cares where he's picked when he's in Florida. He's been able to become himself. The pressure's off. They do play a pretty gritty game. The one thing I've really noticed, though, Rob, when you watch the games right now, a lot of the forecheck guys, by the time they get to the hit, there's not much left in the tank, right? So you're trying to force things. I think the teams at times play a little bit smarter than expending all that energy, because even Rempe, when he's out there, he's trying to get to guys. By the time he gets there, he's all straight-legged. He's not really doing anything. The Ranger crowd's all fired up. But right now, it's really just, hey, it's as simple as it is. It's about puck battles. It's about possession, about playing smart. And I really, all four of these teams, to be quite honest with you, watching Dallas at times against Edmonton is outstanding, but same thing with Florida against the Rangers. So impressive to watch. And I love the penalty kill of Florida. That's one thing I'll say about Paul Maurice. The way that they operate as four-man units, the way they support the puck. It's almost like the guy that is taking the puck carrier, the guy behind him or in front of him knows exactly how the play is going to go. And there's just tremendous support. They had a real nice sequence on Hockey Night Canada and it's showing that. And that's just a four-man unit that absolutely knows where everybody's at and everybody's on the same page.
He's a master. He's an absolute. It's fun to watch Paul Maurice and an honor to watch him every night with the Panthers when I'm in Florida. I'm not done yet on Dallas Edmonton, however. You said you'd like to see them win the Stanley Cup. I'm not sure you were saying you think they will, however. What's Edmonton got to do to win this series? It's 1-1 now,
Well,
as you know.
I'll be honest with you. I just think they have to continue. First of all, I'd make a couple of adjustments. I think off the rush right now, McDavid at times is trying to do too much. Not that he can't. Again, he's the best player on the planet. The 1-on-5 stuff in the regular season, you're going to get guys flat-footed. Dallas's prep right now and where he's at, he is not able to do that. I think he's got to be a little bit smarter as far as expending energy. Beyond that, I like what Edmonton's doing. And really, I watch too, and this will be at home. And as I said, I can't be a little bit nervous. I'm just always watching Skinner early. I thought there was a lot of time in that Vancouver series where he was just dropping. And if the puck wasn't hitting him, it was going in. And I think late in the Vancouver series, I think it was game 6, he made one of these great blocker saves. And I thought, wow, there's a reactionary save. He's coming to this series and he's reacting to the play versus just sitting there and waiting for it to hit him. So that'll be what I'll be watching tonight. And if Skinner is good, yeah, I still like their chances. Now, having said that, Rod, all four of these teams, like, are you going to really be shocked if any of the four win the Stanley Cup? I mean, that's how close it is. I think both series are going to go at least 6, probably 7 games. So at this point, hey, I think it's a war of attrition, and I think it's up for grabs. And I think all four teams believe and realize that they've got an opportunity to win the Stanley Cup.
I've had the opportunity to watch Stuart Skinner since junior in his Swift Current days, so I've been a fan.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you, from what you see, is he an NHL caliber number 1? I believe he is, but not everybody does. What do you think?
Well, again, is he an NHL caliber? He was, right up there for Rookie of the Year a year ago. This is a process. The problem that he's run into is that does his maturation and development match up with where the Edmonton Oilers are? Well, obviously, in the Campbell situation, that is a major mistake. 5 times 5. He was supposed to be the starting goaltender. Skinner has gone in there a little bit early. Is he a true number 1 right now? Well, he's a number 1 goaltender in 32 teams in the National Hockey League. Does he have a tremendous amount of upside? Absolutely. Is he learning from these pressure situations? And no matter how far they go, which I say 3rd round for any goaltender is pretty darn good. Well, he's just going to get better and better, Rod. Is he a true athlete like the Bob, like the Shesterkins, like some of the other guys? I don't feel that. Is he mechanically sound? Absolutely. Is he a big body? Absolutely. Is playing in a Canadian market more difficult than any other market? Absolutely. So is he going to continue to move along in Edmonton finally? When was the last time they produced their own goaltender, Rod? And we're going back to Grant Fuhr? Like, think about that when you really look at it. Like, who has come through the Edmonton system and actually, no, I'm serious. Like, Devin Dubnyk went and found his way years later. It's been Cujo, it's been Rollis, it's been all kinds of other things. So, hey, I understand back to, and I'll use Mike Vernon as an example, coming into Canadian markets, developing through the system, meeting expectations is not easy. I think you have to look at the glass half full with him. And like I said, he is better for the whole process. So he's certainly moving towards that. Hey, and it's important for Edmonton. It's unfortunate with that cap hit on Campbell, and that should have been the last piece in place. And we've gone through that here in Ottawa. I mean, you swing and miss on these starting goaltenders, man. It can really set the program back. So I give Skinner, and I almost say to Skinner, hey, this has basically been the savior. What would you be without this guy last year and this year?
Okay, well, me too. Thank you. And it's Edmonton, get behind this guy. And he's an Edmonton kid. He's everything you should want. So get behind him, man. And I believe they are. Everybody, this is why Shawn Simpson is so popular in Ottawa. It's Shawn with a W, Simpson. Give him a follow on Twitter. Enjoy the hockey, brother. Good to see you smiling, as I said. Keep in touch.
Thanks very much, Ron. Always great having me on, or being on with you. Cheers. Enjoy the rest of the playoffs.
You got
okay?
it, bud.
All right, cheers.
You too. Shawn Simpson of the Simmer Down podcast and TSN Ottawa alum. He's just so good, and you just saw why. We're going to wind it all up. What a fast show today, huh? When we come back with a viewer takeover with whatever you'd like to talk about and a sports update, we're live from the Moose Jaw Event Center, where tonight is the watch party. Warriors in London Knights at 5:30. Doors open at 5. And I'll be here for it to watch the game with you, Warriors fans. Let's just make it junior hockey fans and all. Come on over. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Live, and Spotify.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
All right, the studio today and for the week is the Moose Jaw Event Center. We got the watch party here tonight, 5:30. Face-off, doors open at 5. The Moose Jaw Warriors against the London Knights at the Memmer. All proceeds go to the food bank. I don't quite get this one. At least he was nice. I think Paul in Humboldt, Paul just wrote in with this, and it's very important. I think that I pass this along. He said, I heard recently that the best way to deal with angry people is to be happy. So I'm glad to hear that you're happy, Rod. And it's okay. What does he say? It's okay to rub it in, too? Or is it okay not to rub it in? Whatever. Not rubbing it in. I'm just telling you, bro. Like, for instance, I got people texting into the show, writing it on the streaming, telling me what to say, telling me what to do. It's going to be a real long summer, if that's the way it's going to go. This Brian with a Y, Brian Firth writes that he says, please talk CEBL with your next guest. You want me to talk about the Canadian Elite Basketball League with Shawn Simpson, the former Washington Capitals goalie? It's probably not going to happen, bro. So I'll do the talking and you do the watching. Then we'll be good. Wayne in Victoria, BC writes that he says, welcome back, Rod. What a great RP show today. It went by too fast for my liking. That's the thing. It slaps. It never drags. That's the one thing about this show. You're never going to hear that it's boring. Never. Mike Vernon, shout out. Like Coke to Coke can. Mike Vernon. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, Vernon was Calgary made, and he's still there. Yeah, Shawn Simpson does a fantastic job, man. Got let go in the wave of cuts at TSN Ottawa. Jenna's watching in Southern California. She says, it's the little details that make a big difference. Big difference? It's the difference between winning and losing. Go watch Any Given Sunday. Al Pacino. We got breaking news right off the fryer here. The BC Lions are thrilled to announce Curtis 50 Cent Jackson will perform at BC Place for the concert kickoff on Saturday, June 15th, when they battle the Calgary Stampeders. 50 Cent hits the stage at 3 p.m. Pacific for our third annual home opener concert performance. I'll tell you what, I tuned in last year. Speaking of Any Given Sunday, Clark, do you remember who the guy was that sang the opening? Why can't I remember his name? He was in Any Given Sunday. LL Cool J, thank you.
Approved.
I'm not cool enough.
I like it.
Yeah. It's 50 Cent this time. Why did I do a Jaws theme? Anyways, recognized as one of the most talented and prolific artists of his time, 50 Cent skyrocketed to stardom with his 2003 album, Get Rich or Die Tryin'. On the strength of popular singles In the Club and Wangsta, the gritty debut album exceeded 9 million units sold and won the Juno Award for International Album of the Year. A two-time winner of the Billboard Top Artist Award, 50 Cent also took home the 2010 Grammy Award for Best Rap Performance along with Dr. Dre and Eminem. 50 Cent's resume at sporting events is also vastly impressive as he helped headline an unforgettable halftime show at Super Bowl 56 in Los Angeles. I was there. But Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, and Kendrick Lamar, which awarded him an Emmy. How about that? Way to go, BC Lions at Amar Doman. 50 Cent coming to town for the home opener and their concert series. Over to you, every other team in the CFL. Joseph Newgarden put his cheating scandal behind him to become the first back-to-back winner of the Indianapolis 500 since Helio Castroneves 22 years ago, and gave Roger Penske a record-extending 20th win in the greatest spectacle in racing. Sports updates for Landmark. Did you say 1 minute already? For Landmark Cinemas, now playing at Landmark Cinemas, If, from writer and director John Krasinski. If is about a girl who discovers that she can see everyone's imaginary friends and what she does with that superpower as she embarks on a magical adventure to reconnect forgotten ifs with their kids. If stars Ryan Reynolds, John Krasinski, Kaylee Fleming, Fiona Shaw, and the voices of Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Louis Gossett Jr., and Steve Carell. If, now playing at your local landmark cinemas. Well, we got through it, everybody. And that's the one thing we talked about, Grace and Murray's family, telling everybody, begging everybody to be kind to each other. We didn't even get out of the show, and they're not. Jim in Balgoni writes in, he says, good to see you doing what you love, Roddy, no matter how big or small. My son is starting his broadcasting career, calling games for the Regina Red Sox. Beauty. Maybe we'll bump up into him in the press box. If you're not doing what you love, what are you doing? Yeah, thank you, Gary and Penticton. Gary with 2 R's. We out. We'll see you tomorrow, noon Eastern. Go Warriors!
Who has more fun than us?